Hi, I'm Mark Goldberg, and I'm one of the founders of the Wellington Water Watchers.
I'm Nora Challoner, and I'm one of the original founding members of the Wellington Water Watchers.
I'm Mike Nagy. For those who don't know me, one of the original board members of Wellington Water Watchers when we really got started in force in 2007.
I worked as a toxicologist. Did a lot of work out of town. I flew into the Toronto airport late one night, and it was early winter. And I was driving home through Aberfoyle, and I passed by the Nestle's plant, and I saw two trucks turning out, and it was after midnight. And I thought, how come they're delivering water this late at night, or sending these trucks out late at night? And then I began to think about, I tend to think of bottled water as something people use in the summertime when it's hot. And why were they sending it out in the wintertime? So I started to look into their permit to take water, kind of got me interested in it. And I found that they had a permit to take 1.1 million liters a day, and they had applied to increase it to 3.7 million liters a day. And I thought, what? This is crazy. And so I rounded up a few friends, notably James Gordon initially, and he had been involved in the Walmart, trying to prevent Walmart from coming. So I knew he was a political activist. I was not. I'm a scientist, and I didn't really know how to go about being a political or environmental activist. So I enlisted James and then a whole bunch of other people, and here we are today.
The whole idea of water protection got on my radar. I think it was after we started something called Stop the Pipeline, a small upstart little group that was quite appalled at the idea of having a pipeline to Lake Erie for our water so that a company down the road could continue taking it and putting it in plastic bottles. It was a big surprise to me. I had not been in the activist world in this way before. I'd been part of the Council of Canadians, and a woman came to one of our meetings one night. I guess this is the origin, really. A woman came to our meeting. Her name is Beverly, and she said the creek on her property, which was an old farm beside where Nestle's has settled on south of Aberfoyle, Ontario. Beverly said her creek used to have brown trout in it, and it had no brown trout now and was dwindling up, and it was affecting her water supply on the farm as well. And she was very, very upset about the groundwater taking. So the next move we had to do, we were confused. We weren't sure we knew anything. Our little board then for Council of Canadians didn't know anything about groundwater. So we had a man, he was an environmental hydrologist. We said, would you come and talk to us about groundwater and how you have to protect it? And he said it was, I think, hydrology 101, but it was an eye-opener anyway for everybody who was in the room that night in the little church basement. I think there were about 25 of us. At the end of the meeting, we were still all kind of stunned, realizing, somebody has to do something. So I guess it has to be us. And I remember saying, does anybody here want to have another meeting so we can decide what we're going to do about this? And a lot of hands went up. So we put a piece of paper out and took names, and we said, okay, we'll let you know when we're going to have our next meeting. And Mark and Mike got right on it. And our next meeting was over at the Cooperators. They got organized a room, and it was packed with, I don't know how many, maybe 50 people there that night. What would we call ourselves as an organization? What are we going to do? How are we going to bring public attention to this?
Why did we all get together? I mean, I want to reflect on those early days, I think. Especially the fight with water bottling and water packaging, as I called it at the time too, was in Ontario, and taking on the big corporation Nestle, which was obviously a massive undertaking. But I always been involved with things that had meaning and tangible outcomes and goals, and also from a community and a community building aspect, and we just had to take on this battle, and we had to once we discovered all these loopholes in the water taking permit process in Ontario, and how people just weren't even, there was no one really watching it. So watching was what we did, Wellington Water Watchers.
My husband and I read in the paper, we had a paper then, wonderful Guelph Mercury, hard copy, a little tiny ad from Nestle's in Aberfoyle, who is inviting everybody to a little hot dogs and, public relations event on a Saturday afternoon. Just come on down to Aberfoyle and have, share our success. So Richard and I said, wow, okay, let's go down and see what it's all about. So we went and stood in line and went through the warehouse, and I had never, ever been in a warehouse like that before. To me, it was absolutely huge. It was so mechanized, it was spotless, but it was all plastic bottles rolling around on the huge pieces of equipment, and coming out at the other end and being all wrapped up in plastic and in piles that were moved around by mechanized little indoor tractors. And I'd never seen anything like that before. So we took pictures. We stayed at the very back of this long line of people, and my husband had a new little camera, and we just kept snapping pictures when the leader wasn't looking. And took the pictures to the next board meeting. And I think from then on, people got the message.
We had our message in the bottle campaign where we distributed something like, I think it was 25,000 stainless steel water bottles to kids in Wellington County. And if you can change the attitude of the kids, you can change the attitude of their parents. That was our thinking. So yeah, I feel like we've accomplished an awful lot.
My name is Robert Case, and I live in Guelph. And I guess my connection to the Water Watchers, most recently I was on the board for, I think it was 9 years. But my connection to Water Watchers really is my connection to Guelph in general. I got to know Water Watchers basically as soon as we moved to Guelph from Rockwood in 2007. There was a neighbor handing out postcards to write into the ministry to oppose a Nestle permit, handing them out at our kids' school bus stop. And so, I took one, and I got to know about it from then. And then I've been involved in different community-based, volunteer gigs. I think for me, being involved in the Water Watchers, even before I was involved like really directly, it's just part of being in my community and getting to know people, making a contribution. It's been fun. There's been some hard work, and I do feel like we have collectively contributed quite a lot to this community and more broadly. So it really has been a central part of my Guelph experience, this whole involvement in Water Watchers and related things.
We had a lot of fun back in those early days. Yes, we were all working very hard and volunteering a lot, but we had a lot of fun. We had potluck dinners, we had social events, and it was just so much fun working with everybody back in those days, with in the early days with Lorenz and Tony Layton and Gareth and James Gordon, of course, and Mike Nagy and Nora, and of course Arlene. Arlene is the backbone of the Water Watchers, and without her, we wouldn't have an organization. So thank you, Arlene.
And of course, once Arlene got on board, she was great with, and is great with organizing, with rallies, with outdoor connections. In every way, has boosted the whole organization forward with a strong board behind you.
I want to reflect on those first year or two, 2007 and 2008, when we were kind of like an island of misfit toys with lots of skill and determination, not really sure how we were going to accomplish this goal of stopping these permits and stopping this degradation and insulting of water by putting it in plastic and all the things that went with that. We used to meet at Lorenz's house in that first year a lot, which was the war room, and we'd have meetings, and it was just downright fun. And we were doing 20, 40 hours a week, a lot of us, in volunteering for this, and that was just plain volunteering. There wasn't staff, there wasn't money, And it was those early days we were called crazy radicals. Why are you doing this? Well, why are you taking on such a crazy cause? You won't accomplish anything. And well, if you want some crazy radicals to accomplish something, call them crazy radicals. And we weren't really crazy and we weren't radical, but don't say we're not going to accomplish something, but because we will, and we did, and everyone still is.
We've gotten Nestle to leave Canada. Yes, they've sold their plant, and we'll get around to shutting that down eventually, but we've made a huge victory there.
It feels like it's part of a legacy. Part of what convinced me that Guelph must be a cool place is that when we were moved to the area, there were people fighting the Walmart development in the northern part of town. You could feel this kind of anti-globalization movement being applied right here in Guelph. And then I moved to Guelph, and next thing I know, now we're fighting the Nestle Corporation. So I feel like that was part of like where there's this core of local people who love their community, want something better than what global capitalism can provide. So it felt like being part of that, getting involved as being part of that legacy.
Hi, my name is Doug Tripp. I'm a member of the board of Water Watchers, and really happy to be able to share some thoughts about my experiences with this wonderful organization. Well, as a resident in the Guelph Hermosa area, I came to know Water Watchers, in particular in their work regarding the Doline Quarry, the Guelph Quarry, and the effort to protect Guelph's water supply when the aquitard in the quarry was breached by the operator.
So the Doline Quarry is kind of like a giant hole in Guelph. If you look at a map of Guelph, there's a hole in it. And that's the Doline Quarry. And they've been quarrying there for over 100 years, taking all the limestone out. And it's gotten to the point where they have now gotten through all the limestone, and they're starting to dig into the layer that protects the aquifer, called the aquitard. And they're starting to quarry that too. So that was another goal, was to stop that. And Doline Quarry has just recently stopped digging, and they're starting to patch up the holes and repair the aquifer. So check that off the list. And now I've got to say, I'm just so pleased that the Water Watchers campaigns and support for other campaigns has grown beyond Wellington County. And we're helping people in lots of other places.
Hi, everybody. I'm Donna McCaw. I'm with Save Our Water in Center Wellington, fighting against losing any water at the Middlebrook well. We haven't lost a drop.
My name is Samantha Lernout, and I'm from Wilmot Township, part of Citizens for Safe Groundwater.
I'm Jane Fogel, and I'm a core member of Stop Sprawl Halton. And we've used the Wellington Water Watchers to help our very successful campaign to hold the line on urban expansion in Halton region.
Well, we got started in 2015, and it was actually Mike Nagy who was one of the ones who called the very first meeting at Box Social here in Elora. And then he really helped us at the beginning. He and Arlene, so many people gave us information and guidance, and came to our meetings. Mike came to our meetings. They helped us get organized. They helped us with messaging. They helped us with strategy. They taught us all the background that had happened at Guelph and Hillsburg, dealing with a water bottling corporation. And they helped us organize a Maud Barlow evening in Fergus. They came with us on the march to Middlebrook. They were just really good in helping us get sorted and get started. Mike Balco came in and really helped us with strategy. We worked together on a whole lot of things. They helped us get a grant from Lush that helped us get our videos going, our radio ads going, get the word out. They helped us with signs and sign distribution and the Blue Ribbon campaign. They've just been very, very supportive. There's kind of like baby steps getting us going, and then encouragement and advice, along the way. So we really appreciate that. We see the Water Watchers as a really strong ally here.
So I got connected with the Water Watchers back in 2019, shortly after there was a proposal for a large-scale gravel pit along with wash ponds and all that stuff. And I, through speaking with local organizations, they asked me, "Have you been in touch with Water Watchers?" Wellington Water Watchers at the time, and they encouraged me to get in touch. So I did. I spoke with Mike Balkwell. Mike is huge. Every time, I think almost every day his words ring true in my head, where I challenged him at the beginning, but now I'm like, oh man, he knew what he was talking about. I was very, very based in policy. And while that's great, we had expert testimony and all that, I'm not very great at communicating that to the general layperson. So it would have been very difficult for us to raise public awareness. And there's no way we would have gotten where we were today without the encouragement and direction and support from Water Watchers. So not just Mike, but also the team and the support for creating a website, helping us to get our petition started, helping us with our emails, just being able to help take all of the deep, thick information that I have in my brain and helping to make that into something that was more digestible for just the average person, and the outlets to do so. So things like the new mode form that allows a family that's busy to be able to voice their concerns, which they otherwise might not have been able to do.
We had great success in a very short period of time at the Stop Sprawl Halton campaign. But when we first met, we were people that didn't know each other, and we had a very short timeline to get going. And when we first talked about our campaign, it was limited to what we thought our capacity was. But when we engaged the Wellington Water Watchers and we got Mike Balkwell on side, things started to open up in our imagination of what we actually could do. And I'm not sure that we could have actually succeeded had we not done that, because it was a very big job to change the hearts and minds of 13 counselors in the space of 6 weeks. But once we got the confidence that we could do some fundraising and that we would have access to the technical skills from Wellington Water Watchers, that really was a game changer for us. We couldn't have taken on that fundraising event and been so successful without both Mike coaching us and the technical side of it to come through for us and make us look professional and make us look like we could really get the job done. And certainly Mike's coaching took us to a new level as well. And I didn't realize the role of the coach would be so pivotal to what we were doing, in that I know I ended up doing things that I would not have otherwise done, like asking people for money or making phone calls that were awkward for me. But that coaching element really, for me personally, made a huge difference. And I think in the end, that's all part of the formula to get us to success.
It meant we had good input, good support, just to give us insights and guidance as we go along. So they really helped us with the kitchen table organizing, and gave us direction and support and advice along the way.
Well, it definitely brings hope, like seeing, and even the more peripheral things that Water Watchers has a part of, like when you see the public engagement results in some change, that is so motivating. It puts wind in your sails to see that when people do band together and speak up and make efforts, there can be a change, there can be impacts. That alone has helped keep us going. So like things like the Stratford glass plant MZO and the Blair MZO was a big motivation right before we started to get into our council meeting.
I had moved to Stratford and again became involved with Water Watchers in terms of its outreach. And this was something new to me, a new dimension of what Water Watchers does, where Mike Balkwell again was engaged with a small group of people in Stratford who were fighting the establishment of a Chinese float glass plant, a huge float glass plant. And Mike led what was a very successful, a very brief, actually. We reached our desired conclusion pretty quickly, in which the plan was rejected, and it has moved on. So this was a huge success, and again, for me, it just opened a new dimension to what Water Watchers is capable of doing. It really was quite amazing to experience.
That puts so much wind in Rory's sails, and myself to keep going, to realize, okay, no, we can do something here. So on a personal level, having that, just seeing what you guys are doing all over the place was motivation, and then feeling the support and the little push, like when we're feeling like we're done, the support of having people that believe that know the situation and know us well enough to give us the right motivation at the right time.
It's often those early days that people reflect back at things as some of the most meaningful times, because we realized we had struck something here, right? We had struck the artesian well of community building and motivation and action and a whole bunch of things. And so it was a just cause. And amongst all the other projects that Wellington Water Watchers has taken on since and will take on from now on in the future, and the family and the communities that were built, not just in Guelph and Wellington and Ontario, but all around the world, the Wellington Water Watchers has been touching people and linking with other groups and become very respected.
They're not making any more water. We have to look after the water that we have. It's absolutely basic. And there's so many communities that have their water threatened from various threats along the way. So there are many communities, not just ours, that need the kind of expertise and leadership and support and advice and help that we got. And we're really grateful that we got that along the way. It really helped us sort ourselves out. And there are many other community groups that are going to need the same kind of help that the Water Watchers gave us.
Well, the Nestle campaign was, I found it a curious thing in a very positive sense, in the sense that, we turn on our taps here in Guelph, this is my experience, and there's no issue. We get water, it's cheap, reliable and safe, yet here are people who are kind of proactively thinking about the bigger picture, about when, the threat of water becoming commodified, about the power of big corporations, about long-term community environmental needs. I thought that's a pretty cool thing that I want to be part of. And in fact, it became the core of my PhD studies, was looking at the social networks underlying water activism in Guelph, and still is part of my academic program of research. So it's, the Nestle fight is just this little microcosm of the big things that we need to worry about in this world. The unequal distribution of wealth, greater and greater concentration of wealth in fewer and fewer people, the plastics manufacturing, the fossil fuel use and production, and long-term climate resilience, which requires democratic governance of our groundwater. So it's just it's such a localized thing here in Guelph that speaks so much to what's wrong with the world, and then the citizens' residents' responses seem to be a lot about what's right in the world. And that's the part that gives me hope, I think.
My name is Kevin Thomason, and I'm Vice Chair of the Grand River Environmental Network. It's been fantastic to see the impact that Water Watchers has had locally and across the entire province. I think the first 5 years I spent trying to drag you guys out of the water realm and into the green belt realm. That for the longest time the focus was water, and I kept trying to say, well, you can't protect the water without protecting the land. So anyways, it's been fantastic to see how Water Watchers has broadened the portfolio over the years and gone from at the onset being really focused on water to realizing that they need to protect entire watersheds and ecosystems, and that these things are all interconnected.
For me personally, of course, I'm retired from my profession. I'm an engineer by training and an educator mostly by vocation. I really wanted in retirement to be actively engaged in something that was meaningful to me, and Water Watchers fits the bill perfectly. It was hands down that if Water Watchers would have me, that's what I wanted to be a part of. So now today, I'm a member of the board proudly, but I also have been directly involved in a provincial level campaign, and so the Reform Gravel Mining Coalition was established under Mike Balkwell's leadership and with Water Watchers' support as a provincial level campaign to bring about reform to the gravel mining industry in this province, one that has besieged many communities, not unlike what I experienced in Rockwood. And we are well into a campaign now, the purpose of which is to urge government to declare a moratorium on new gravel mining licenses, to allow a pause so that an independent assessment can be done of the industry and its impacts, and reforms can be brought about in policies and regulations that would deal with other competing priorities, the priorities of communities, social priorities, environmental priorities, water protection principally, because of that being at the heart of Water Watchers, of course. And it is one of the key concerns arising from this industry. So we are in a timeline that's targeting the upcoming provincial election. And we've had some significant successes in getting the opposition parties on board. We've had a number of municipalities that have declared their support for the moratorium. There are in excess of 60 citizen groups and other stakeholders around the province that support it. So it really is quite an amazing story, and we're just working very, very hard to make sure that the conclusion of the story is what we want, which is to bring some sanity to this industry and protect natural resources, water, and the broader environment, and the social priorities of communities.
We're at a pivotal time in this province when grassroots organizations are needed more and more to counteract what the government is doing. And all those groups are kind of new to it, or a lot of them are. And even if they're not new, they could always use some help. So taking this regional wide or Southern Ontario wide, or however far you go, is going to make a difference in my mind. And I welcome that your vision is to go further afield. And I think by doing that, more people will know to contact you and will think, oh yeah, maybe we could use some help here. And that will, lead to greater success in Ontario, I think.
So regarding the future of the Wellington Water Watchers, or the Water Watchers as we go forward, I feel like back in 2007, we put a drop into a pool, and now the waves and circles are spreading out and reaching much, much farther than what we initially intended. So that's fantastic.
I'm very proud of the organization. I think it's been wonderfully successful. It has helped the community to grow. And my background in coming out of public health was always about enlarging the community's understanding and getting on side with shared public goods, and Water Watchers is actually doing that in such a big way. A lot of people who don't even know about it are benefiting because of the work of the Water Watchers.
As a member of the board, I like where Water Watchers is going. It's building on its reputation and its successes, and I'm sure that in the coming years, it's going to be an even more powerful voice for water protection and justice in terms of environmental issues. I'm very much convinced of that and very confident that it's going to play a meaningful role.
Well, I guess I hope that the historical roots of this organization aren't lost, because I think that is significant to the story of this fight with water bottling giants, and where the sort of people get together as a community, how action is built through those close interpersonal relationships. But I hope that it would be really cool to see a similar kind of thing happening in communities all around Ontario, whether they go with a Water Watchers banner or not, but somehow connected together with Water Watchers, maybe supported by Water Watchers. Water Watchers has built up quite a capacity to communicate and provide strategic support, I think, to lots of little organizations. So I hope that I'm excited to see what the future holds. I think we're on a really good trajectory at the moment, and it's unlimited. And it'll just be really interesting to see the different kinds of people, different kinds of communities, networks, different types of water issues that start to get, I don't know, interconnected towards growing more and more. I guess it's really collective power and influence to for us, the people, to take charge of our own water and therefore environmental and social futures.
Water Watchers is spreading its wings, and the impact it's having is far more provincial and not just regionally or even locally. So I think that's fantastic to see that broader scope and bigger impact. Well, and I think the most interesting thing I'm seeing with Water Watchers is the impact it's having on other local environmental groups. It has been amazing to see Water Watchers become the go-to for so many different community groups and organizations and folks facing challenges. So it's great to see you sharing your expertise and the learning and just how to mobilize and just so many of the basics that people across the province need to know, and you guys have absolutely mastered. So it's exciting, and I think the journey is just beginning.
I think groups affect each other's groups, and they have a spin out positive effect for groups like ours, and all of them have learned from each other and what our common needs are, and how we only maintain strength as communities by working together, and everybody rises stronger.
By being involved in Water Watchers, and the losses sometimes as well as the wins is a really amazing thing to see. It like there really is still power. You can be cynical about how our politics work. You can be cynical about the power of our economic system, but we still have things that we can do, and Water Watchers to me has proven that time and time again. There's more we need to do, and we're moving that direction. That's the exciting part. But I think that's one thing that stays with me is the agency that we really have to make change. It's really inspiring.
Water is just so important. It's essential for life, and we take it for granted. And we really have to do a lot more to protect it and conserve it than we have been doing up to this point. So I'm just delighted to see that we are going beyond Wellington County and expanding our mandate. And it also means sustaining the organization. Back in the old days, it was hand to mouth and really reliant on volunteers. I think I was a full-time volunteer for 5 years while I had a full-time job, and Arlene did the same thing, and Mike Nagy and many other people. So it's good to see donors supporting the organization now and actually having some paid positions. So that makes a huge difference in the sustainability of the organization.
I hope you'll continue to be as strong as you are, and we'll be able to support other groups, of course, as well, so that we will continue to rise up. The pressures against groups that have any environmental focus or protect the public good, especially through food and water, are huge negatives. And like when you're dealing with money, the big guy wants it for himself, and it's something we all have to do. It's actually part of the unspoken positives about a group like Water Watchers, that you're bringing out the commonality of the need and the knowledge that we all have to move forward on this planet. It is a planetary thing. really. We have to look and see the big picture. And I think Water Watchers has done an excellent job of that, because, well, even moving from Wellington Water Watchers now to Water Watchers, I think will be a great way to move forward.
Yeah, well, it's awesome because it's going to become provincial, and then who knows where it'll go from there. Like it's I think it's great. I think you guys were Water Watchers from the very beginning, though. I think definitely since I've known Water Watchers, you guys have been Water Watchers beyond Wellington. So I think it's great. It's going to bring more people, more great spirits to continue to push Water Watchers further. The more you expand as an organization, the more people will come. So I think it's phenomenal.
The water issues are probably going to be the defining issue of your generation. And anything that we can all do to make this more important in every citizen's life, the better protections that we will be able to put in place, force our politicians to put in place, of whatever party. We've got to be able to show strength in protecting what is our common good and right. And not just ours as people, but the rights of nature as well. You know, it's about everything that's living on this planet.
Happy 15th birthday.
Happy birthday, Water Watchers.
Happy birthday. Happy 15th birthday.
Happy birthday.
A very happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Wellington Water Watchers.
Happy birthday, Water Watchers.
Happy birthday, Water Watchers.
Happy birthday, Water Watchers.
I'll always be a water watcher, and everybody should be a water watcher.
We are the Water Watchers. Water for life, not profit. Our vision is a society where people recognize that water is inherent to all life. Live in balance with nature and build just relationships with each other. Water Watchers empowers people and communities to work in solidarity. Towards social justice through the unifying lens of water. The climate crisis is daunting, but we are up for the task. Together, as we center justice, we can create a better future for all life.
It's such a great pleasure to be here. I was told this was a drop your Wellingtons party. Well, it gives me great pleasure to be here tonight to celebrate with you a new beginning for the Water Watchers. I'm so thrilled to be one of the first people to address you with your new name. It's long overdue. You've made such a great impact in the province. I think you should be celebrated as a provincial group. One of the great moments of my life was being invited by the Wellington Water Watchers to go to Guelph Aramosa to speak to the mayor and council regarding a Chinese float glass plant. It would be $450 million. It was a dangerous facility and it threatened the water resources of that community. Upon entering the church, I was amazed. The people were all in their seats. The signs were all out on the streets. The mayor and council had been massaged. By the end of the evening, the mayor stood up in front of the assembled crowd and he said, "I made a mistake. I apologize. We shouldn't have this plant." And days later, the community was free from the Shinyi float glass plant. I said to myself, wow, these Wellington Water Watchers are awesome. I hope that every community has the benefit of this kind of organization. Now, there are three things about the Water Watchers that make this group superior to most any ENGO, environmental non-governmental organization in Canada. First and most importantly is the facility that the Water Watchers and Mike Balkwell have with science, policy, politics, and the law. You are comfortable with working with all sorts of experts and transmitting their very technical information into usable pieces of information so that people can understand and then act on the expertise that you provide. I have a saying, which is, you can't beat what you don't understand. And the Wellington Water Watchers are supreme to most any organization in helping communities understand the threats that face them. And when you understand those threats, you can begin to try and overcome them. Second, the Water Watchers are expert beyond any group I have ever worked with in terms of facilitating, encouraging, and mastering community communication. What do I mean by that? The challenges facing these communities are incredibly complex. They involve governments, corporations, Indigenous interests, neighbors who sometimes are even opposed to the environment and environmentalism. And yet through the Wellington Water Watchers, or the Water Watchers, these communities come together, they're able to share information, they communicate neighbor to neighbor, town to town, counselor to counselor. The Water Watchers facilitates communication in a way that I have never seen before. It is the most effective part of your organization, is that you get people to talk to one another. We are not going to be able to arrest the climate change crisis. We will not stop the catastrophe of our species biodiversity collapse unless people and communities learn to communicate the way that the Water Watchers show us how. Cambridge, Stratford, Guelph, Ramera, South Bruce, Milton, I could go on. These are just a few of the communities that the Water Watchers have helped to talk to one another in a way that has led to some of the most spectacular victories in Ontario's environmental history. I can't wait for the next 15 years of communication and victories. Finally, Groucho Marx once said, "This is a problem a 5-year-old could solve. Now quick, get me a 5-year-old." Now, what I mean by that is you have to be inspired to volunteer. You can't volunteer if you feel the pain in your back or the arches in your feet hurt. What the Water Watchers do is they inspire people. If you live in the community next to a community that has just worked with the Water Watchers, you have probably seen the effectiveness of community organization, the fundraising that goes on, the ability to move mayors and councils, to elect new mayors and councils, to do the sorts of things that I dream of every day and that I hope that my children will follow in my footsteps. It's the inspiration that you provide that I think makes the real difference amongst these communities. Again, we won't solve the climate crisis in Canada unless people are inspired. The Water Watchers has to fan out across Canada and bring your special way of inspiring people if we hope to make a difference and save our planet. You do this with humor, perseverance, a kind of a fundraising mastery like I've never seen before. And then there is your sincerity and your belief. People feel it, they love it, and they're inspired by it, and they get their neighbors and their friends to follow your lead. So with that, I want to raise a special toast to the Water Watchers, to the best, most relevant environmental group to disenfranchised communities in Canada. Hear, hear. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, everybody, for your generous supports in the past and in right now as well. So we're definitely so excited for the next 15 years and everything that the next 15 years has to bring. There's going to be so many exciting things every year. And so we're really grateful for everybody for joining us here as well right now and spending your time with us. So now to help us celebrate and take us into the next 15 years of water protection, I'm excited to welcome in Alicia Brilla. And Alicia Brilla, she's a 3 times Juno Award nominated artist. She's a songwriter and a music producer who creates sound as a healing modality. Brilla is the first female artist to receive multiple Juno nominations for her self-written and produced albums. And her work is driven by a deep belief in music's power to transform ourselves and our world. Alicia Brilla's newest album, called Circle, comes out this summer, so summer 2022, with live shows across Canada and internationally to celebrate the release. And Circle is an album ripe with messages of personal and global healing, music to soothe the heart and uplift the soul. Welcome, Alicia. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, and happy birthday, Water Watchers, and congratulations on the collective work of raising $15,000 for Water Watchers' birthday. I think that's so cool and very important. And I'm so grateful for the work that all of you who work with Water Watchers do, because I love the Grand River. I love the watersheds around here, and I love healthy water, accessible water for all. So I'm going to play a few songs now to celebrate this. This first song is called Changing the World, which is something I think that all of you do every day with your work. And so this one is for you. Every breath that I'm taking, every word that I say, every piece of my heart that I give away, every breath that I'm taking, every word that I say, every piece of my heart that I give away. Well, every cell in my body is replacing itself with another. Oh, when the new ones have room to change, to grow. And even the genetic encoding is able to slightly vary itself for future generations to come. Every breath that I'm taking, every word that I say, every piece of my heart that I give away, every breath that I'm taking, every word that I say, every piece of my heart that I give away. Oh, well, it's changing the world, changing the world, changing the world inside of me. Oh, changing the world, changing the world, changing the world inside of me. So now, inside of me. Well, every time that my heart beats, electromagnetic waves emanate from my chest like a drum beat out to the world, playing rhythm ancient to the first human. And even the genetic encoding, hey, we can trace ourselves to a single common cell, to which I credit myself. I am reflected in the stars, nebulous, soft spun by an infinite power. Every breath that I'm taking, every word that I say, every piece of my heart that I give away. Ooh, every breath that I'm taking, and in every word that I say, every piece of my heart that I give away. Oh, well, it's changing the world, changing the world, changing the world inside of me. Oh, 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 changing the world, changing the world, changing the world inside of me and outside of me. Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Hey. Oh, 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 inside of me. Sing no, hey, hey, hey. Hey, 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 oh, oh, inside of me. Mm, mm, mm. Thank you so much for being here, everybody. Woo! I'm Alicia Brilla, and I'm so happy to be here with you, Water Watchers. And I'm going to take you out for the night with one more song. And this song is called Water. And this is a song that I wrote about the water and about our lens on the water, and how I do believe with the decolonial lens on water that we start to see it as a major system that we are obviously a very intrinsic part of, and vice versa. So this one's called Water. Thank you, Water Watchers, for having me. I love and appreciate you so much. And if you feel like dancing, you can dance. You can write in the comments section while the song's playing. I will read the comments, and I love it and appreciate it. What are we connected by water? What are we connected by water? Yeah, Danny, hey. What are we connected by water? Yeah, Megan. What are we connected by? Well, could it be the blood? Could it be the love? Could it be the air we breathe in our lungs? Could it be the water flowing through the veins of the flesh to the land we've settled upon? Agua es la esencia de lo que somos. Agua es la esencia de nuestros espíritus. Agua es la esencia de todo el mundo. Y si protegemos el agua, protegemos todo. I said, now what are we connected by water? Oh yeah, what are we connected by water? I said, now what are we connected by water? Oh, what are we connected by? Well, could it be the blood? Could it be the love? Could it be the air we breathe in our lungs? Could it be the water flowing through the veins of the flesh of the land we call our home? Panika kushabu, panika awas, panike fikr mein kayalo mein asas, panika ram, panika swat, pani yeah, pani tere rang ke saath. I said, now what are we connected by water? Love the water symbols. Are we connected by water? I said, now what are we connected by water? Yeah, hey, what are we connected by? So now, ooh, 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 ooh. So from the ocean to the river, to the lakes, to the streams, from the water inside our bodies to the water in everything. They say there are 7 oceans, but there's really only one. Yeah, they say there are 7 oceans, but on this planet there is only uno. I said, now what are we connected by water? Oh, what are we connected by water? Whoa, whoa, what are we connected by I'm gonna play with a rain. Happy birthday. Everyone can sing along to you. I said, happy birthday, dear water watchers. Happy birthday to you. Thank you so much, everyone.
Here we go.
Reggae. Happy birthday to us. Happy birthday to us. Happy birthday, Water Watchers. Happy birthday to
Hello, Wellington Water Watcher celebrants. Folks celebrating the wonderful work that Wellington Water Watchers does and has done for many years. Happy birthday, and I just want to say it's been a real honor to be part of working with you and your incredible organizing skills and people power. You've really helped the Reformed Gravel Mining Coalition get off the ground and brought so much knowledge and integrity to our work. So it's great. I'm here in sunny Los Angeles to play a show this evening here. So I just wanted to wish you a great celebration and to many more years of success and hard work for the environment.
I'd like to wish the Wellington Water Watchers a happy 15th birthday and many more to come. Cheers.
Happy birthday, Water Watchers. It's a wonderful birthday to celebrate.
Happy birthday. Happy 15th birthday. Keep it up, Wellington Water Watchers.
Happy birthday, Water Watchers, 15 years old. Maybe it is time to maybe are growing beyond the nest, the home in Wellington County. And I believe that you are off to amazing things just getting started. And I'm going to be excited to be part of it and to watch other parts from the sidelines and cheer you on. So happy birthday.
It's a time of celebration for Water Watchers. 15 years is no small accomplishment, and with a very bright future ahead of it. So I just want to congratulate all of the current Water Watchers, staff, volunteers, board members, but also the history. There are people who played important roles in launching Water Watchers in the first place, and they are all part of the celebration, I'm sure. And so a very happy birthday to the organization and all the folks that have committed so much of their time, talent, and energy to its mission.
Well, I'm more than happy to wish you a happy birthday, Wellington Water Watchers. You deserve all the accolades that you're getting, and it is great that you're so forward thinking, that you're moving on to bigger and better things. I wish you all the best in the future, and I hope our paths are going to cross again.
Well, happy birthday, Water Watchers, and thank you for all the selfless effort, work that you have done. It has made such a difference to so many people.
Happy birthday, Water Watchers. Yay.
Don't take enough time to celebrate. We get too caught up in all the challenges, and just the idea that we sometimes do have to stop and celebrate the wins is important. Keep up the great work, and I know the best is yet to come. Happy birthday, Water Watchers.